courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
It's time for Veterans Issues, the show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their family. Now here's your host, Ken Rollins.
Welcome into Veterans Issues, Ken Rollins. Today's show is, we got coming back, has been on here a few times, and we're glad to have him. We're going to talk about Liberty Park and a bunch of other things. Oxford Police Chief Bill Partridge will be right back. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Today's guest is Oxford Police Chief Bill Partridge, and we're going to talk about a lot of things, including Liberty Park, Choccolocco Park, some of the things going on in Oxford, and OPD. Welcome to the show again.
Appreciate you having me back, Ken.
Yeah, you can be co-host here one of these days.
Yeah.
We got on so often, but there's so much going on in Oxford. I want to bring the people up to date on it, and the one is Liberty Park, as I talked about in the intro. Was Liberty Park is under construction, and it's over on the south.
It's on the
Southwest.
south side of the Civic Center.
Southwest side of the Civic Center, comes from the interstate side. And you see that big green dome over there, that's the center of the park. Tell me about, have we got pictures today of the park?
I don't have any pictures
Okay.
today because there's
You'll
too much
paint one in your
construction,
mind. Okay.
construction equipment going on out there right now.
I saw today's paper, that it was in the, but it was not a great picture either, just a black and white, but it was, that's Choccolocco Park, the one you got. We're talking about Liberty Park. The whole concept was back in, you used to go into Oxford on Choccolocco and Snow Street, that wedge, I call it, was in there. That's where some of these memorials were, right?
Yeah, there at the Y, we had what was called Veterans Park there, but it was surrounded by asphalt and streets on all three corners. So it was really hard to have any type of service there. It was really hard to do anything there other than drive by and look at it. And the city council and the mayor, they both agreed that we should honor our veterans in a really nice way, and they came up with the design of Liberty Park at the Civic Center.
Well, that's great, because you could take your life in your hand if you just tried to step over there into that wedge area, as I call it. They call it the Y, but it used to be J.C.'s Park, I think they used to call it. There's an old cannon sitting there for the people that's watching that. All that's gone now. That's down there. What kind of artillery thing is? I forgot you on that.
So World War II howitzer.
Okay. I had no
Made
idea.
in 1942.
I know it's very appropriate the way in there. Now the Liberty Park is going to have, what do you call that? Water, dancing waters, or what do you call it?
It's going to have it has a fountain there, and it has red, white, and blue lighting there that will be on when the fountain's running.
Wow,
And the fountain will run 24/7.
it's awesome. So everybody needs they can go by out there and look now, but they just be looking at construction equipment and whatever, but they can get an idea. I drive down there once in a while to see the progress on it, but from the interstate you can see what's going on, but you can't understand what it is. But Liberty Park is going to honor all the law enforcement, all the first responders, and the veterans.
That's correct. That's correct.
And there's other plaques out there that were over in that area that honored people in the community for various reasons. They will be in a separate part, but you'll have the veterans, you'll have law enforcement, there's line of duty.
That's right.
Yes, okay.
That's right.
Well, that's going to be awesome, because it's, number one, you get it out of that area down there where people can actually go over to it. They'll see on that one memorial, it's a Veterans Memorial Park or something like that. It's actually, that's what it was, where it was at.
That's
but
correct.
you
We
just
moved that
relocated.
monument to that location, and
Yeah.
it's lit up now, whereas before nothing in the park was lit up other than street lights. And the park looks totally different at night. It's like going to Washington, D.C. and seeing the memorials in the daytime, and then going back at night and seeing them. You got a total different perspective. It's an extremely beautiful place at night now with all the LED lighting that we've got in the park, and it's awesome.
Now, I noticed you had some place for seats, so you're not seats there now, but in kind of a, what do you call that?
We've got a natural, basically a natural amphitheater built
Okay.
there that you can bring your lawn chairs out when we have services there and enjoy the service itself. We hope to have the very first one at 6 o'clock on Veterans Day of this year, on November the 11th. We didn't want to take away from Centennial Park. We didn't want to take away from the parade in
Right, yeah.
Anniston. We wanted to do something totally separate and not to compete with those venues, and so we decided to have evening memorial services.
I'm glad it did, because I used to have in the Centennial Park, I used to have a candlelight vigil in in the evenings. And I tell you what, it was the most moving part. I had to give it up because the emotion of it. When I had the grandmother, a young Jackson boy from West Anniston, the Desert Storm. When the grandmama handed her the microphone, and she was under the understanding in her head and her heart that if she said his name out loud, he'd hear it in heaven. So she started talking to him, having a conversation about his bicycle, about everything. So she had us all tore up. I said, I can't do that no more. She was really using that candlelight vigil. She said, he can see down here. He can see that flame. You see this flame, son? Man, it was so real. It was just.
Well, we hope that we're going to do the dedication of the park and the ceremony on Veterans Day at 6 p.m. Hopefully, if everything turns out the way it's supposed to turn out.
I know you're building a building down there that everything don't always turn.
No, it doesn't.
But back to the amphitheater tank. So where I'm looking at that, there's not seats there. It's how you have to put your chair.
You
there.
bring your own lawn chairs, and you've got a nice area to sit that's cool, and be able to see. It's really
BYOC.
Really nice.
Bring your own chair.
That's right.
There you go. Well,
And we'll also bring chairs out there too.
Yeah.
But if you want to bring your own chair, you can bring your own chair.
That's awesome. It's so appropriate. I mean, it's just like I remember when we first started talking about it. I had in my head it ought to go over by the where the restrooms are over there. But what you got there now is like, man, how was I ever thinking that when this was here? Because I didn't think there would be something put on that side because they had the golf thing always took that side of the field.
Yeah.
But things changed a lot out there. What is the other construction underway that we see on the opposite side of the?
It's just an extension of the parking lot. They're building an extra parking area over there on that side.
Okay, somebody asked me about that, and they thought I know everything, I guess. Yeah, I spoke about the building down there. What do you call it? Tactical?
It's a special operations center.
Okay.
It's going to house our SWAT officers, our K-9 officers. It also is housing the new emergency operations center for the entire city. And it's also housing aviation.
Okay, that's where the helicopter was.
That's correct.
Is that on the
on the north side of the building?
Huh?
North side of the building.
Okay, I thought it was on the side. Okay, but people still be the helicopter just blows my mind away because years ago you and I was having a conversation. You were talking about the equipment. I've seen some of your bells and whistles that you've got down there, but not to the extent of what all you got. You was in Montgomery a few weeks ago. I saw something on Facebook and I hadn't had a chance to talk to you. What was that about? You're demonstrating some of the robots.
The Attorney General's office had invited us down to set up a booth and display some robots and drones and so forth for other law enforcement agencies across the state. And they had over 900 law enforcement officers there last Wednesday in Montgomery.
Was you the only one demonstrating equipment?
Yeah, we brought some robots down, tactical robots, so they could see what these robots can do and what their capabilities are as far as SWAT operations, of being able to talk to a barricaded suspect or an armed suspect without having to put an officer's life in danger.
That's awesome because I thought, yes, to run some buttons and send something up there to knock down the door and you can have cameras on it you can see, you got devices on it you can hear, and you can talk to the subject without putting their lives at stake. But I saw something on the windshield of one of your vans, and I said, that's an ugly looking thing. Remember what I'm talking about when you had a suspect van and you had something to protect the windshield?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It just looked like a cloth to me.
You're talking about a Kevlar blanket where we had a negotiator sitting in there, yeah.
Yeah, and the negotiator could have got shot except for that. That's great. Yeah. We got to go to a break, come back, and we'll talk more about Oxford and what they're doing down at some of the things they're doing there. We're going to talk about Choccolocco Park. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins. We're still talking with Chief Parcher, the Oxford Police Chief, and we're talking about some of the things that's going on there. Other than Liberty Park, not much happening, huh? The one thing that we finished, we dedicated, since you was on here last, we put the first name on the memorial up in Centennial Park. The Alabama Law Enforcement Memorial, and I need to remind people that that memorial was built off of the back of the revenue that we take in from the sale of the law enforcement tag, and we can get the control room to bring it up. If folks out there have really been That's the tag I'm talking about. And you look at that tag, and there's not a car on the road that don't go with. I mean, that looks good on any color car. But it also, if I'm following a car like that, I got to wonder who's behind the wheel, because I do know one thing about it. I know they respect and they care about the fallen, the law enforcement people who died in the line of duty. And so that's all I really need to know about the person that's got that tag on the car.
The best part about that tag, Ken, is that it allows us to honor the memory of those who have given their lives protecting their communities. And it makes me feel really good that we were able to do that car tag, and the proceeds have paid for that memorial, and we don't owe anything on it.
There you go. And yeah, that was a $40-something thousand memorial. And every time we have to add a name on there, it's not cheap. And we have the coins. We put the officer's name on the coins. A lot of maintenance and things that goes with that people are not aware of. But you're so right. You know, to have that, not only is it paid for, but the maintenance is going forward to be able to make sure that somebody we lose another, and that we don't have to worry about paying for it.
I just hope it's an extremely long time before we add another one.
Ain't that the truth? But that was awesome, because we had the governor up here, we had the attorney general, and we had the head of Department of Corrections. We had people coming in here from Michigan to do that. But the tag, what I wanted people out there to understand is that, you know, was it coming up here at first of the year, whenever they get a tag, you don't have to be in law enforcement to have that tag. But I personally, when I see that tag on the road going down Highway 21, I get a good feeling in my heart, because I said somebody paid that little few extra bucks to get something to put on the car. You know, I'm a member of the Fraternal Order Police. I have those stickers and stuff, but that tag alone just speaks volumes of who is driving that vehicle. And so if we can keep on doing that, we can keep on taking care of the memorial.
I saw one of those tags in Huntsville back first of the year, and it was a personalized plate, and it was respect.
Really? Yeah. Wow. Don't have to say anything about that one, do you?
No.
I started flashing my lights at 431 one time, and I finally got her to pull over, and I guess she knows I'm some kind of crazy person back here, and I just told her, I said, ma'am, can you tell me why you got that tag? And I may have told you the story, but I mean, she looked at me kind of funny. She said, why you need to know? And I said, I would just like to know why somebody would buy that tag. Are you in law enforcement? She said, no, I'm not in law enforcement, but I really respect, or something to that effect. And I said, well, wish I hadn't have done this, because it really hit me right where the reason she was doing that is she wanted to show that she quit talking about we support law enforcement. Go out there and get you a tag like that. I went off on it a lot more than I did. One of the things of going across the country, and I see some of your social media posting sometimes, and so you and I on the same sheet. The young woman that was killed in San Diego or somewhere, California here just recently, the deputy that was shot, he had the 4-month-old baby. Was that the one where she hesitated?
No, that wasn't one where she hesitated. That was a Chicago female officer who was being beat by a suspect, and she hesitated and didn't use lethal force with her weapon because she didn't want to have to suffer the consequences of the media scrutiny and all that kind of stuff. That's an extremely sad situation, that we're in that situation in law enforcement, that you have officers who are hesitating instead of doing what they're trained to do, that they're wanting to not bring about media attention to themselves or families, and bring the department into all this litigation and all the different, a whole different aspect of that on the news media. But we have to stay on top of law enforcement and let them know that you do not hesitate. When you have a life and death situation, we're here to protect the public's life, and we're also there to protect the officer's life. And you can't hesitate in situations like that, because we're going to have officers who are killed because they hesitated.
Yeah. I years ago, my daughter and I were coming through, well, I didn't need to go into all that, coming off of 431 coming south, and the fellow just kept pulling in front of me and pulling over the right. Him and his wife, I guess it was his wife, but they were fighting back and forth, because I'd pull over to the right and he'd pull in front of me, pull to the left, he'd do the same thing. This went on over till we got to a red light. Now I'm behind him, I'm blocked on my left, I'm blocked in my behind, and he starts coming out with whatever. She was fighting with him, trying to keep him from doing that. But I had my pistol in my hand, and I stepped out with my left foot on there, and I yelled at him, if I see anything, you're dead man. But if he had pointed a cell phone at me, I'd have had to shoot, because I had no way out of that situation. and I had a law enforcement officer sitting there watching the whole thing all the time, and he told me about it later. He said, I wouldn't worry about it. It looked like you had it under control. But if I thought about that a lot of times, I'd had a split second when he showed me something, because his wife was trying to, it had to be a gun. Yeah. Now, if he'd come out with a cell phone and I'd have shot him, I'd have probably been in trouble. But he was, you know, it was one of those things. I thought about how officers make those split second decisions. I hope they're not doing that out there today. And with the way we're doing across America, you know, I'm so frustrated at it, because you know my feelings on that. But anyhow, let's go talk about something better. Let's talk about Choccolocco Park. If we can get the control room, bring up that beautiful facility out there that's just open. And now there's a picture of it up there. That awesome lake, the walking trail. The orange-looking area is a light reflecting on the mound that's got the burial. That's a burial of the Indian.
That's correct. It's a burial mound.
All right. And the other over to the left, you can see the white rocks. Those are the rocks that was up on top of the mountain
Behind Target.
Behind Target and Home Depot up there. Yeah. And that's those were rocks that were. A lot of people had a question about why they were up there, and there's several versions, but now there's a real version that it was an honor to honor someone. They'd take a rock up there. Yeah. I thought all these years it was to raise their mountain higher than the one on over the hill over there, because, you know, the Native Americans, they believed everything was up higher you were, the higher you were to the gods. You know, they even buried them up on stilts. So that's awesome. The cultural situation they've got down there, the people that come over to see that, and see how Oxford has respected those people. And
that park actually has panels every so many feet that explains the history of the land from thousands of years ago up until now. And it's a really great place to take kids. And
exit 188, folks, down on Leon Smith Park.
Not only walk, but actually get a history lesson while you're there.
We're down to a minute, so I want to make, is Leon Smith Parkway going to be widened at some point?
Yes.
Is it from where to where?
It's going to be widened south of the park entrance, north.
Okay.
The bridges will be expanded, so we'll be able to get traffic in and out.
Up by the exchange out there.
That's correct.
And then also one of the planning things was 78 would be.
And that's in the long range plan with the state, but yes.
That would be awesome to get something like that, because, you know, like in Montgomery, they got a service road runs up through there. It makes it easier to get from point A to point B without having to kill yourself in the traffic. We got the Oxford Parade coming up. You remember the date on that?
I don't remember the date off. It'll be the first Thursday in December.
All right, still going to have all that. And still got your community policing.
That's correct.
Jerry Lyons out there.
That's correct. We got park police out there.
He's at the park now.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming back in, Chief, and I know you've got a lot of other things to do, and I appreciate you taking the time and to show us.
Appreciate you having me, Ken.
All right, you take care.
Thanks a lot.
Got to go. Come back. We got news that you can use. Stay where you at. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. This is news you can use, and again, I want to remind you that on November the 11th at 6 p.m., November the 11th, that's on a Friday, and at 6 p.m. down at Oxford Civic Center, the dedication of the Liberty Park, and I have a Veterans Day ceremony there to go along with that. But before you get there, we have the Veterans Day ceremony in Centennial Memorial Park, and that's up 17th and Quintard, and that will be at 11 a.m. and it'll be over by 12. The parade starts around 2 o'clock, and it's down on 15th Street there on 15th and Noble and Anniston. And now here's the number I want you to write down. If they are needing some floats, they're needing some participation in the parade, and so I want you to call Linda Peters at 256-591-3093, 256-591-3093. If you'd like to enter something into the parade, a float or whatever, got an old car, whatever you want to enter, we need some participation in that parade. Have you got your flu shot? Yeah, did you get your flu shot? I got mine, and I hope that it works. I'm not sick today, but that don't mean I won't be tomorrow, but I feel better having this flu shot. The VA clinic asked me to remind you to do that. And one way to prevent the flu is what I always ask you to do is to wash your hands a lot, over and over and over, several times a day. You go into these shopping places that's got the wipes. They say that's about 70% of the germs are gone. It doesn't clean everything, but it does take care of about 70% of them. But when you grab a hold of a shopping cart, especially when it's warm, that hands have been on it just recently, those things are still laying there just waiting on you, and they got they'll travel up you onto your hands up to you when you wipe your face, and that's the way it starts. The bathroom doors, same thing. So not anything, it's just doors, period. But when somebody opens a door to the bathroom and it's got germs on their hands, they're going you go the same way, you're going to get those germs on your hand. The audiology clinic over there, people are still calling the old number, but I want to remind you, 877-894-2600, 877-894-2600, extension 407, extension 40. If you need something about your hearing, that's the place you call. And let's see. As I said last week, they still need volunteers over there to drive the go-karts, or the golf carts rather, go-kart. But they need that for over in the parking deck. So if you'd like to volunteer over, give me a call and I'll put you in touch with Pat. On the 16th of November, over at the Vulcan, they're going to have a ceremony to recognize the World War II. It's at 9:30 a.m. over in Vulcan Park, and they're going to honor the World War II veterans, and that's 9:30 on November the 16th. A big event over there at Vulcan. So trying to look at all my notes here. We got that's called a Think a Vet program, and it's, if you'd like to be a part of that, you know, the World War II veteran, they need some World War II veteran. Call 706-996-3880. 706-996-3880 for if you know of a World War II veteran. We got to go, and this week's salute goes out to Bill Partridge and all he's doing down there in Oxford to honor the veterans and the first responders. And we'll see you next week here on Veterans Issues. And I got to go. Here's your salute, Chief.